Wedding marches usually lead to marriages, if done right, or in this case wrong. Marriage of Dale and Ming, and Flash approaching on this week's Crown Jewels. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Products Presents Crown Jewels. I'm your host, PLD, and this is our journey through the entirety of the Queen and solo catalogs, determining what is the best version or titular Crown Jewel version of each song in the catalog to slide into our ultimate playlists. Of course, I also give you some notes and quotes if I have them. We go from there. This week, Marriage of Dale and Ming and a Flash approaching more, mostly incidental music from the Flash Gordon soundtrack. This one written by Brian May and Roger Taylor, and I'll get onto that duo in a moment when it comes to actually breaking this song down. It does feature Brian on guitar, piano, organ, synthesizer, and vocals, Roger on drums and vocals, Freddie on vocals, and John on the bass guitar. Flash Gordon soundtrack is different than most of the albums we listen to because usually the albums have a lot of songs that have single versions, live versions, demo versions, and we have to really pare down what we're listening to. In the case of the Flash Gordon soundtrack, it's generally a lot of incidental music which has just the album version and that's it. And so it doesn't take long to get through it, which is why these episodes have been pretty short comparatively. And not only that, but the songs themselves tend to be really quick hits instead of actually full, verse chorus songs. Some of these are a minute, maybe 2 minutes in length. This is no different. This song is absolutely no different. So what I will do, though, is I have you listen to it and then I talk about it. How do I do that? In the show notes, I have a Google Doc with a link to a YouTube version of the song. I have you pause me. I have you go listen to it, and you come back and we can talk about it briefly. So let's get to it. Without further ado, pause me, find that link, listen, and I'll be back. And there you have it. There it is, the 2-minute, 20-some-odd second version of Marriage of Dale and Ming and Flash Approaching. That's why it's written by Brian and Roger. Brian wrote the Flash Approaching part. I believe Roger must have written the actual marriage part. The worst part about this is the sudden, abrupt change about 35 seconds in. It's a horrible edit. I mean, I shouldn't say horrible edit because I think visually it worked when you're on screen watching it. When you're just listening to it as an audio track, it's very jarring. It's this big bombastic power chords, and all of a sudden, cut into this synth, opening synth droning thing. It doesn't work at all. The cut doesn't, and it kind of goes back and forth a few times. But that's the worst specific cut for sure, as far as I'm concerned. The Flash Approaching part is still more of the same. Brian using the main theme in a slightly different fashion. There's some slow power chords that Flash is starting to approach Mingo City to save Dale Arden from her horrible fate. The more important part of this track is the actual marriage part. Accompanied by some humorous dialogue from Ming and the officiants, as it were. What's really cool is that the background stuff is actually kind of cool. Roger's waving sci-fi synth chords. He knows how to really do those. They really feel like at home at any kind of 80s sci-fi opera kind of setting. Very choral, angelic, but still kind of otherworldly, but still, for the most part, a very melodic kind of sound. It really works to the atmosphere. And even though the marriage is not something we want to have happen, it is worth a wedding, for sure. I don't love the cutting it back and forth, but then again, visually, it works. But I'm just commenting on the audio side of things as far as putting it onto a playlist, for example. Not something I'd probably put on a playlist. I'm a completist, so I will. And with the rest of the Flash Gordon soundtrack, it won't sound too out of place, honestly. But that's why you'll see that it's not one of my favorite tracks of the soundtrack, for sure. But that's it. That's the only one we have. So, spoiler alert again, there's no decision to make. That is the crown jewel. It's the only jewel. So this will be the ones on the ultimate playlist, Marriage of Dale and Ming. So the important part of things is now rating it. Because we all rate things on a scale of 1 to 11 here on PLD Projects. Always turn it up to 11. But at the same time, it's not as important even for the Flash Gordon soundtrack. As I've mentioned before, I almost always rate these things about a 5.5. Sometimes they can get boosted a little higher if it's something really spectacular. But generally speaking, it's hard to rate because these aren't full songs. They are incidental music. These are short instrumental bursts, but I can't also rate it low because of that, because it's doing what it's supposed to do. So how do you rate something low for doing what it's supposed to do, right? But you're not going to put this next to something like a Bohemian Rhapsody as like a song. You can't put it up there like 8, 9, 10. It's not a song really. It just does the job. It's probably you could really score the soundtrack more. Maybe I'll do that at the end. I'll give the whole soundtrack a score potentially. Maybe I'll do that. It might be a different kind of podcast later on where I actually rate the albums instead of the songs. But for now, I will give this the typical 5.5 right in the middle. I don't like the cuts to listen to specifically, but the music itself is really good and it's very interesting. So I think that's only fair. That's going to do it for us this week, folks. It's another quick. We are almost done, though. We're almost done with the Flash Gordon soundtrack, which means we are going to move on to another full album. Even if there's not a lot of versions on this the next album as well, at least they're full songs, that being Roger Taylor's Fun in Space. But we are almost there. We have a couple weeks left, 2 weeks left of Flash, Flash's theme, a reprise, and then The Hero. We'll touch base on the Flash Gordon tours from that era, 1980, 1981, and then we'll move on. So, well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoy it here. If you do like this, hit subscribe, hit like, comment. You can join us at patreon.com/PLDprojects, or you can join the YouTube here. You can get these episodes early, sometimes really early. I've been recording a bunch of them Flash Gordon wise. I've been recording 2 a week, really, to kind of get ahead of myself, so there could be some buffer later on when I have a more busier schedule. It's hard to do when like you have the hour and a half like We'll Rock You and stuff like that. Those are going to come back up again eventually, so might as well get as much built up as I can, but you're going to get them early if you're a member, so do that. If you can't help that way, though, I totally get it. I understand times are tough. You can help me by the other ways, like sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that kind of stuff. Help us fight the evil algorithm. But that's it for this week. Next week is Crash Dive on Ming City. I may have misspoken and said Flash's theme reprise. That's because I'm, again, taping early. Next week is Crash Dive on Mingo City, then Flash's theme reprise, then The Hero, then the live stuff, then Roger Taylor's Fun in Space. But I'll do it this week. See you next week. Take care. Hope your marriage is better than Dale and Ming's, if you have a marriage, or, you know what I'm saying. Just get out of here. Bye.